never experienced. I believe if they've experienced it now, they now know what the 10-1 system is, and we'll see what the referendum says, and that's the way we'll go forward.
So if indeed the city council did believe that the Weldon Cooper study was inaccurate, did you all ask for a refund of our tax dollars for that? Because that was a good amount of money that was paid to support that.
I didn't say city council thought that the city council is not a member of the Every Vote Counts VB. The people that are funding and the people that are working for Every Vote Counts VB believe that the Weldon Cooper study was without validity and was not statistically valid, as people are so fond of saying. That we don't believe that that is the case. Don't believe that 83% of the people in Virginia Beach agree upon anything. They don't agree that that we have a flood issue, so much less how we're voting. So it's not city council, it's the people that are supporting the issue.
All right. Can you explain the modified part of the 731? This would make it compliant with the state law and the city charter.
Read that again?
Can you explain the modified part of the 731?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the modified.
Yeah.
Okay, the modified part. Under the old 731, which we had for almost 60 years, 62 years, the old system was we had 7 districts. You had to live in that district in order to represent that district, but every voter in the city got the vote for every member of council. So if you lived in Kempsville, people in Pungo could vote for the people in Kempsville. That was the old 731, and when people keep saying, we're going back to the old system, we're not going back to that system. That system has, the state legislature's done away with that, and the system that we will have to go to, the modified system, will be 7 districts, 1 representative from that district that lives in that district and is voted on only by the citizens of that district. In addition, you'll have 3 at-large that can live anywhere, and the entire city will vote on them just like they vote on the mayor. So that's the modified part of the 731.
Is there a map of the modified 731 system? Has that been established yet?
Until the referendum question has been answered, until the voters decide that we're going to go down the 731 road, there are no established maps as we speak. The city has not been working towards that. We know that should the 731 pass on the referendum, that the no vote wins, there's going to be a lot of work to do to establish that. The commitment still from city council is that we will still have 3 majority-minority districts just like we have now. And the city attorney is confident that we can get to that point of having 3 minority-majority districts and under the 7 districts.
Who did you say the leaders said? I missed that part. You said someone said that they were.
The city attorney is confident we can get to that.
So, in essence, what I'm hearing you say is the modified 731 system doesn't exist. So we can't say if it will work because we don't even, they haven't, it's an imaginary piece of legislature almost. because there's no map for the 731 or the 7 districts that they will have to map out that will include what you just stated. The city attorney says that he would be able to do with the 3 minority districts. So I like to vote for what's real and what's there.
Then why did you ever vote under the 10-1 system? Because when the 10-1 system was implemented, it had never been implemented before. There were no maps. There was no procedure on how we were going to go forward with the 10-1 system. It had to be developed before we voted on it. So that's where we are today.
I feel like when we say the modified 731 system, that the impression to people is that the system exists and that it is real, and it's really a thought or an idea because the maps have not been drawn and we have nothing to look at to even see if it's possible that they can do that and comply with what the federal law requires as well as what the state law requires.
As of right now, the federal law doesn't require anything because that judgment was ruled moot. There will have to be a whole new trial to determine whether the modified if we do go to the 731, and if that system is challenged, there's going to have to be another trial to determine that. So we don't know that the 10-1 is going to be valid. There's questions about that going forward, and we don't know. The 731, the modified 731, the state attorney general has said that that is a perfectly valid voting system under the Virginia Voting Rights Act.
It is.
Okay, ready for the next one? All right. How is 5 votes for council and 5 for school board more diluted than getting only 2 votes, 1 rep and 1 mayor? 5 of 11 is more than 2 of 11, right?
In essence, the number is more, but the power of the vote is diluted. When you're voting in your district, it's you against 40-something thousand people. So that is the power of your vote, versus when you vote citywide, it's you against 460,000 people. Now, if I had a pizza, and I cut it up into pieces, and I cut it up into 44,000 pieces, I'd certainly have a larger piece than if I cut it up into 460,000 pieces. I'd be really hungry at that point, so that's the dilution of the vote.
In my past life, I was a math teacher, and one of the things I learned, and one of the things I taught my students is that 5 is greater than 2. It befuddles me how there's an argument against that. When you have 5 votes for 11 positions, that gives you more power, it gives you more say, it holds people on council to a higher degree of accountability because they have to please a greater percentage of the people. They have to work for a greater percentage of the people. When you have one district and you have 44,000 people, of that you'd have about 33,000 voters. All you got to do is work for your district. You don't care about the rest of the city. With 5 votes, you hold people more accountable. 5 is greater than 2.
Did you teach fractions when you were in math?
Excuse me?
Fractions.
Oh, yeah.
Did you all do, or decimals, percentages?
Sure.
Would you say that 1 over 44,000 is larger than 1 over 460,000?
Go ahead with your point.
That's my point. Your vote is diluted when you are voting in an citywide vote versus just in your district. And
Again, I don't understand it, but the fact is that if you take fractions, if you take 1 over 44, and then you add 1 over 460, 1 over 460, 1 over 460, you have a greater voice than if you're voting for one person on council. That one person on council has 1 vote, 1 voice. When you're voting for 5 people on council, you now have a greater voice.
so like I said, I'm from the booming metropolis of Emporia originally, but I've been a resident here for 25 years, and I do understand fractions, I do understand the power of our vote, and I also understand the money that is being used to secure the vote. So the large donors are still pushing to have control, and they're using the money that was paid to them for different business improvements to fund that, and that is not representative government.
You give it the question you just asked. I don't even worry about it. Just put that one in the box.
Do you support at-large voting for delegates and state senators? And how do you reconcile the 731 in being in violation of the Voting Rights Act?
That's yours.
So the 731 is, I do not, repeat your question, I don't support voting for at-large delegates because the way our Constitution and our state laws are set up, you only get to vote for the delegate that is in your district, which is why I have trouble understanding the desire and the push for the 731 system, because it is unlike any other voting system that we currently use. And, the second part of your question, 731 is not a legal voting system, according to the federal judge, who was not, his ruling was not muted, but vacated because he believed that the people in the city were going to follow the merits of his ruling without him having to maintain the ruling against them.
It seems as though the 10-1 argument always comes back to the money, the money, the money. And I've explained the reason that the business community is behind the 731 is to blunt the collective bargaining movement. The 10-1 system will lead to collective bargaining, unionization of our city employees, and we will lose our right to work state status in Virginia. That will have a decimating effect on the state and on our locality. So the reason that these people, it's not power. You keep going back to that, and that's oh, they want power, they want power. No, they don't want collective bargaining. That's the whole reason why they're unified in this. They don't sit around, there's not a committee of people saying, let's control the city, here's how we're going to do it, we're going to put our money together. They don't want collective bargaining. They don't want our unions, our city employees to be unionized. That is the unifying force. That's the reason why. And you keep saying, well, why are they all behind this? That's the reason why. They don't want collective bargaining. And you're going to get collective bargaining under 10-1. And your taxes are going to go through the roof.
Is that a new slogan that every vote counts VB will be using? We don't want collective bargaining? Because I haven't seen that on your signs. Your signs talk about voting power and taxation and not having a vote on school board, which are all false narratives.
I'm here telling you the truth as I know it. As far as if you want to talk about the signs and the meaning behind every sign, do I think that they were overly effective? I don't know. I hope they are. But I'm telling you, the reason behind this is collective bargaining. And that's not a nuance. I've been saying it. I sat in this very room in a forum with many of you people right here, and I talked about the evils of collective bargaining when I was campaigning. And that's the reason why I got the support of the business community, because they know that they have an advocate against collective bargaining. And you're right, there will be an election next year, and it's going to be an issue because we were one abstention away from having collective bargaining. And that's an evil that the city cannot afford.
Okay. And the next question actually talks about the same thing. I do not understand the connection of 10-1 to collective bargaining. Please explain.
Okay, under 10-1, we had our very first, the state law changed where it was left to the localities to determine whether they would allow collective bargaining in their municipality or not. So 2 years ago, the firefighters brought a petition to the city council to allow them to go to collective bargaining. That vote was 5-5 with one abstention. That was the first vote taken under the 10-1 system. We were one abstention away from having collective bargaining. The reason it has not been an issue is because we did have an election and we did elect people that are totally, or we elected enough people that are totally against collective bargaining that every unit out there knows that they're going to get a no vote on collective bargaining. Now, we're gonna have another election next year, it's gonna be a big issue. I'm gonna make it a big issue because I believe it's that important that if we go to collective bargaining and we have unionized employees, our taxes are gonna go up through the roof. We're gonna be in New Jersey, New York. We are gonna be in a position that don't even talk about decreasing taxes. It's about how much they're going to be raised. Divide and conquer is 10-1.
Okay. In the 10-1 system, if your rep does not answer you or hear you, what do you do? What?
Pull them out,
Vote them out.
go to the mayor. You can talk to other members of council to see if they support some things. You find the support you need, but the easiest part of the 10-1 system is you can vote them out very quickly.
Okay, first of all, they're there for 4 years. Okay, you have a council person that doesn't support your positions. Okay, yeah, you can vote them out 4 years from now. And the idea of going to another council member to deal with an issue in your district, forget it. I'm on city council, I know how it works. And I've had people call me and say, my council person is not responsive to my need. Okay, I'll go talk to the council person and say, you know, I think this is a legitimate concern, I wish that you would pay some attention. And it's worked in some cases, in other cases, it's like, you know, I just don't agree with that position. That person's out. And to go to the mayor has to build a coalition. Mayor's got a very, very tough job, because the mayor is just one voice. The mayor has no more power than any other council person, for the most part. He gets to set the agenda. But you go to the mayor, and it's a very tough position for the mayor to go against somebody in an issue in somebody's district. And that's the way it works. There's bargaining. You talk about, you know, bargaining behind the scenes. Well, you vote for mine, I'll vote for yours. That's the way it's going to get on 10-1. Fortunately, we have a very good council. We have a very ethical council. They're good people, and that has not been an overriding issue. But with 10-1, vote for mine, I'll vote for yours. That's what happened in Fairfax. That's why they have a $300 million deficit.
Because someone voted for mine and I voted for theirs, they have a $300 million deficit?
Look it up.
Interesting concept.
All right. How are city's two most revenue-producing resources, being military and agriculture, best positively would influence which one would be an influence by either voting system?
Agriculture and the military would not be affected by the 10-1 system because you would vote for the district that you live in, whether you're military and you're only here for 6 years, or whether you're opening up a farm, you would vote for the representative that was gonna give you and whatever you needed in your area, solutions.
Could not disagree with that more. Under the 10-1 system, first of all, we have a three-legged economy here in Virginia Beach. We have added to agriculture and the military, we have tourism. Not a whole lot we can do to control the military. In fact, the military is they control a lot of what goes on in Virginia Beach, as it should. And I don't have an issue with that. I'm just saying that's a fact of life, that the military is not going to be affected by city council because we're way too sensitive to that. Agriculture, huge effect on the 10-1 system. Look, there are 11 people in city council. There's one person that represents the District 2, where all of the farmland is, the vast majority, if not all of the farmland. That's one voice. 10 people don't have a voting interest in this district. And so agriculture, to protect our agricultural needs, the 731 gives the people in the agricultural district 5 voices instead of 1 or 2.
That is to assume that the 3 at-large people also live in the area with the agriculture. Because if they live in other areas, then they'll vote for what's best for that area.
Okay.
It's about money.
All right. How will either voting system protect our green line and stop council from moving it?
As a non-member of council, and one who can't vote and make decisions on the moving of the green line, we do notice that it is being encroached upon and constantly changed. So, with our 10-1 districting system, though the people who are below the green line will have to speak up and get advocates that support what they're doing in that area, just as anyone else in another area who has a specific interest would have to push to get others concerned about what was happening. Money and interest.
It always comes back to the money. That's the only argument there is. Oh, it's the money, you know, we don't like it because it's the money. If the developers found a cure for cancer, you'd be against the cure, okay?
It
The
depends
fact,
on how much it costs.
yeah, right. So now here, to answer this question about the green line, folks, again, 10-1 system does not protect the green line. It's not going to protect agriculture, it's not going to protect the green line. You have one person, and Barbara Henley's the biggest advocate, the biggest voice. Nobody works harder, nobody cares more about this district than Barbara Henley. That woman, she bleeds District 2. She's one voice. She's alone on an island. When you got a 731 system, she would have 3 other people that she could go to. Sometimes she can't even get a second on a motion. If you have a 731, she could find a friend of those 3. So the green line, the 731, okay, again, becomes a proponent for protecting the green line, and more importantly, it protects the blue line where the agricultural district is.
So it seems with the 731 system that no matter what the need is anywhere in the city, you will have the advocates you need, and that's just not the case. If that were the case, then in 10-1, they would have 9 other advocates to help them in their district. It doesn't make sense. 7-3-1 with 3 at-large people are not going to support all of the needs of all of the people in all of the city as your district person would represent you as they live in that area, work in that area, and thrive in those areas.
Okay. Another encroachment question. How will either voting system stop encroaching on the naval base? And in this case, I'm assuming we're referring to Oceana.
Again, the idea that 10-1 gives you 9 other people to advocate for your position doesn't register with me. That you have people, 9 other people looking out for their district, not for the entire city. And they're only looking to please those voters in their district, not citywide. You lose a voice. But getting back to the military question, the ITA is a new development, fairly new development, and there's 4,400 acres of land in the ITA. In addition to that, there are hundreds of acres that the city has had to buy back around Oceana, where there were once neighborhoods, people living in, that the city had to buy those houses back and have demolished those houses and made them not usable for residential use, or they've come out with a much lower density than was there before. So either system, as I say, the military is too big here for either system to work against the military. And in all fairness, in either system, the military is going to be protected.
As I stated before, when council gets together and they talk about issues of the city, if there is an issue that is broad enough, you all come together and discuss those issues to see how it will affect the whole city, even though you are the councilman of a specific district. Do you often have times where you vote on things for or against that will affect other districts.
Obviously, on city council, we the responsibility that you have is the responsibility that you take. If you take responsibility for issues that affect the entire city, good for you. That's what I do. That's what I've done. I've advocated. Again, I encourage you to watch our streams and listen to the voices. I advocate, and I've never once said in my district, and you hear it all the time at these city council meetings. In my district, it's boom, boom, boom. In my district, I've never said it, never will say it, don't believe in it. I've always advocated for the city. But you're only as good as the council people you have. So if you have council people that only care about their district, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get 10 silos.
I believe that,
I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
We just have time for a few more questions. I'll allow 3 more
Okay.
questions, just because we're running out of time. But please, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Did I just mess you up? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault.
that's okay. What I believe you said is exactly what I expect to happen in the 10-1 system, that people, and I've seen it work in other areas, because yes, you are a staunch supporter for your district as their representative, but there are things that will affect everyone in the city. And those are the times where councils will come together. If you bring big industry to one part of the city that will create jobs, then yes, people in other districts will vote for that issue. And that is why I feel that voting for 10-1 is the way to go, because you have the person who will represent your district, but also your interest in the city as a whole.
Okay. All right. Why are you assuming that people in the 10-1 system don't care about the other districts? Or are you trying to say that agriculture and oceanfront cannot coexist?
Obviously, they can coexist. They've coexisted for 65 years, 63 years, 62 years. They have, and they can. And because we have what I consider to be a good council, good people on council, the decisions that are being made currently are for the good of the city. And I'm not saying that a 10-1 system will automatically lead to bad decisions for the entire city. I'm saying that it gives citizens less of a voice. It can make council people go into a silo, and you hear it. Again, I ask you to watch these streams. When people say, in my district, and when we do go to some of our votes, it does become an issue about how it affects their district. So it's a system that's just ripe for abuse. It's a system that we've seen it not work, we've seen it work, we've seen it not work, and it can only get worse, especially when it comes to collective bargaining, because once the unions figure out that they have enough votes, we're going to have unionization, we're going to have collective bargaining, and if you think there's money in politics right now, let the labor unions get involved and see the kind of money they'll throw into these elections. You haven't seen anything till you see what labor unions will do to an election.
I think that I disagree with you, because I think that I know that the 10-1 system will be less abusive, because in the 10-1 system, they won't be answering to big money, but they'll be answering to small communities. The communities that they live in, the communities that they work in, the communities that they know.
Okay. We have time for one final question. Is it more expensive to run for city council at large or in a district?
It is more expensive to run for city council at large, because you have a larger area to cover. One of the questions earlier talked about the 400-something miles that we have here in this city. And as an at-large candidate, you would be expected to hit as many houses as you can. In the smaller districts, you can knock on 44,000 doors effectively versus in a citywide, unless you're running for a 2-year period, it would be very difficult to knock on 460,000 doors.
Well, again, proof is in the pudding. Whether it's easier to win an at-large election with a lot of money or a little money, I would say that it really depends upon the quality of the candidate. If you have a horrible candidate, there's not enough money, or hopefully there's not enough money to get that person elected. We all know John Moss in this room. John Moss won every one of his elections as an at-large member, and he never outspent any of his opponents. So if you have a good candidate, it can be done. If you have a bad candidate, it's not going to get done. So yes, it does take more money theoretically to win an at-large election, but that's not going away. With the 731 system, even though it's going to take more money, you're going to have better representation. You're going to have people. You're going to have 5 votes instead of 2.
If John Moss is the poster child for running for office, and his opinion is that 10-1 is the best system, then I say vote yes for 10-1 because that's the system that John Moss supports.
Okay. Okay, it is now, I want to thank both of our panelists, but we are now going to have closing statements, and I want to ask Councilman Cummings to go first.
Well, I started first last time.
Okay, well, whatever y'all want to do,
Whatever.
fine.
So, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us share our opinions and thoughts on the 2 different voting systems. It really comes down to money versus people, in my opinion. And I am for the people. I am for not giving developers hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate their own hotel and millions to renovate their own hotels, whereas we're not allowed as a citizen of the city to go there for free, but the taxpayers funded parts of those renovations. And even, him coming back to ask for more money and the city giving it to it. I am for using our tax dollars to help grow our city, but also keeping the money where it belongs with the people and not with the businesses and the developers. So I encourage you to get out there, vote yes for 10-1. It is a fair, accountable, and representative system. It is tried and proven. We've used it. It does exist. It is the only legal system that is being currently offered here in Virginia Beach. So vote yes 10-1.
Okay. As far as John Moss supporting 10-1, you're going to have to go to him for his own motivations as to why that's happening. I was simply using him as an example of a candidate who could win an at-large election without outspending their opponents. Now, as far as the legality of the 10-1 system, the state judge just a couple months ago ruled that the 10-1 system was blatantly illegal, and the 2 or 3 elections that we've had under the 10-1 system were illegal, and he stayed coming up with a remedy so that all of the candidates that were elected under the 10-1 system are still duly elected, thank goodness. But so he stayed that until after the referendum, and we'll find out where we go from there. So right now, we don't have, the only legal system we have is the 731. That's the system that's in our charter. You brought up before about our Constitution and the way that we elect our state delegates and senators. Well, we have a city charter. A city charter that says that we are under a 731 system. The 731 system as modified by the state legislature. It's a good system. It gives people a voice. It gives people a representative in their district that they vote for, that they can go to. In addition, it also gives them 3 other voices. So again, being a school teacher from years ago, 5 is greater than 2. And to say that limiting your votes on city council and school board gives you more representation and you have a greater voice, I can't see the argument. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I see that if you can vote for 5 people, I'd much rather vote for 5 than 2. You hold them accountable. What do they, why are they going to do the will of the entire city? Because the entire city is holding them accountable. We have big issues. We're a big city. We have a lot of, we have a $2.8 billion budget. It takes a lot. And it takes people concentrating on the big picture, not just upon the 44,000 people in their district. If everybody did that, again, the argument is, well, they're going to really concentrate on their 44,000 people in their district. Well, if everybody did that, we'd have nobody looking after the city. And that's what we need. We need a system where we have people that are directly accountable to their district, that live in their district, that know the issues of that district, but also focus on the big picture, that focus on the entire city, that will let us grow, let us have the, use our resources wisely, and get us to where we need to be as a city, not just 10 different boroughs. That's just it's a bad look, it's a bad system, and that's why I'm encouraging you to vote no on this referendum.
Excellent. I want to give a warm applause for both representatives. You guys did outstanding, and I want to note that over 40 questions were asked in the process that we did. So over 40 questions were able to be asked, rebutted, and responded to. I will say 12 questions here were either redundant, that means we've already answered that question, or not germane, or there were a couple of statements too. And we agreed in the beginning, we're not reading statements, we're reading questions. And